Today we were very spontaneous. It was very gray, very bleak. It was raining, and we ended up in the area of London that they call the Temple. This is a very special place. It was featured in the bestseller called the Da Vinci Code, which was back in those years. Back in those times, it was a phenomenon. I remember that my roommate who traveled the world backpacking, he called me once just to tell me, and he paid for this phone call for a lot of money, but he wanted to tell me that some other parts of the world, at an airport while waiting for check-in, he saw a nun, a Catholic nun, reading the Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. When we entered the temple, that was one of the very first thing we saw. It's not open all the time. You need to be very lucky to find it open, and we were lucky today. It used to be free. Now you need to pay £5, and if you're like student or something, then it's £3 entrance fee. Next to the till, there is a table by a column with all sort of books regarding the topic of the temple. And one of the books is about the temple and the Da Vinci Code. Actually, there was a movie made as well with Tom Hanks. It was very interesting to walk inside. That was my first time. Everybody else, my friends who came with me, they been in there already, but for me it was the very first time, and it was very interesting, because this place were in use already in 1100s. So almost about 1,000 years ago, it was already up and running. I live in London. I'm based in London, but originally I'm from Hungary, and we have a connection to the Templars as well. Hungarians and Hungarian kings were part of the Crusaders going to the Holy Land and protecting the pilgrims going to the Holy Land as well. When you enter the temple, there are so many extra things that they borrowed from the Victoria and Albert Museum and the House of Commons. From there, for example, there are two knights. It's a life-size statues, which were incredible. And there are countless boards with lots of written material explaining the place and the significance of it in the history. And it was very interesting for me to see how long they will actually existed. So they started out in 1100s, and they closed the shop in the 1300s. That is 200 years. The whole operation ended when the Molai was executed. The Templars are important because they were basically the first bankers. They not just protected the pilgrims going to the Holy Land, the center of the world, they were protecting their money, their wealth as well. When you go in, there are three areas. One is the oldest part of it, that's the round chapel called the Round. Second part is where the people can sit down. This is where they have the mass. This is where they have the organ, and a very interesting altar piece that was made by the team of Christopher Wren. You cannot, absolutely not escape this name, Christopher Wren, if you are interested in London, because that person is like Shakespeare in architecture. He basically designed a whole city. Not every single building was built in the end, but after after so many years, many they were. There are three places, three parts. So the round one, and then this long part, and there are these stairs that are spiraling up, and you can go to the top of the church. I think in the medieval ages, most people they were very slim, because I know many people who wouldn't be able to fit in the stairs area. So you go up and you are basically under the roof, and there's a funny thing that there is a drum, a quite huge drum, and this is something you would be not expect you wouldn't expect it in a church. And even the most bored tourists, they find it, because for me, I didn't even notice it. I just walked past the drum, but the people who were downstairs, they were so bored. When we went upstairs, they obviously find this, and first, they were very, very shy. They were just like pum pum, and then, and then they realized that no one is there. So they started to play on it, and, and they had very good rhythm actually. So I actually wanted to spend upstairs maybe 2 minutes, and that's it, taking some pictures, and that's it. Well, I spent there maybe more than 10 minutes just listening the tourists, playing on the drum. I don't think they were actually allowed to touch the drum, but there was nothing written anywhere that would forbid, playing on the drum. And it was so funny. But the problem was that these tourists, they find the rope. They find the rope. But there was a rope in the spiral when the stairs, when you're going up the stairs, but it was written on it that please don't ring the bell of the church. And obviously the people who are already got used to making music with the drum upstairs, when they were coming downstairs, everyone was like pulling on this rope. Pulling on this rope. And in the church, there is certain times when you can ring the bells, and there are different cultures, different places with different rules, but I don't think on this planet there is a place where every 5 minutes every 5 minutes the bells ringing. So the lady, obviously I did not play on the drum, and I didn't pull the rope. I didn't ring the bells either, but I saw the ladies who were checking and charging for the tickets, running up and down, screaming, "Don't ring the bell! Don't ring the bells!" When you enter the second place, which is where they have the mass, what you notice is these huge church windows. There are two types. One is the new ones, which is like basically a plain window, and the second type, which is very much look like the original ones, with a very colorful, beautiful church windows with stories in it. And if I had to choose one story, which is my favorite from the Bible, definitely it would be when Jesus throw away the merchants from the church. And right here, that was the story on the church window. Because what happened is, during the Blitz, which was on 10th of May 1941, the temple was almost completely destroyed. They need to rebuild it inch by inch. So when you enter the temple and you pay the £5, you're gonna get a leaflet, and on that there is a map with numbers showing the important parts, and every single part has the name of the family or the company who provided that particular object after the war. So this particular church window, telling the story of Christ when he threw away the merchants from the temple, it was designed by Carl Edwards, and it was a gift from the glaciers. And these windows, these colors can be no longer produced. Probably that's why the other windows are just plain windows, like everywhere else. And the last thing we're gonna mention are the tiles, because the technique how they produce those are the ones used by the Cistercian monks in the 12th century. These monks were everywhere in Europe, in my country, in Hungary as well. The place is really something to see. So if you're not, if you're spending like a weekend in London, but if you spend like 4 or 5 days in London, definitely it is something to see. Definitely you need to visit the temple. You need to look out for the opening times because most of the time it's closed. It is basically 2 minutes walk from St. Paul's Cathedral.